She left her pink gym water bottle on the passenger seat that morning. That's what started everything. I wasn't snooping. I wasn't suspicious. I was just dropping her car off at the dealership for an oil change because I had the day off and figured I'd do her a favor. The bottle rolled onto the floor when I hit a pothole. When I picked it up, it was warm. Strange, I thought. It was 7:30 a.m. She left for the gym at 5:15. I tilted the bottle. Lukewarm coffee. Not water. Not even a hint of protein powder or anything gym-related. Just half-drunk caramel macchiato from the place near our house. She told me she went straight to the gym this morning. No coffee run. Something didn't add up. But I didn't go full detective, not yet. I didn't want to. We'd been married for 8 years. Laura was my best friend. She was funny, ambitious, obsessed with podcasts about weird murders, and lately, very into her fitness. At least that's what I thought. But that bottle, that dumb, pink Starbucks tumbler, was the first thread, and I pulled it hard. Let me back up just a bit. I'm Kyle, 36. We live in a suburb outside Indianapolis. I'm a high school history teacher. Laura worked in marketing, but she got laid off during the pandemic and started working as a freelance fitness coach. Or that's what she called it. She started going to this high-end fitness club across town about a year ago. Said she liked the vibe, the classes, the energy. It wasn't cheap, but I supported it. We didn't have kids, and I figured it was good for her to have something that made her feel strong, especially after the job loss. At first, I was proud of her. Then I was confused. Then I was angry. And eventually, I was standing in a courtroom. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Back to the bottle. Later that day, I checked her gym app on her iPad while she was out. No check-in that morning. None. In fact, her last check-in was 4 days ago. Yet she told me she'd been going every day. I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to be the guy checking up on his wife like some insecure freak. I just couldn't shake it. Something felt wrong in my gut. So the next morning, I followed her. She left at 5:12 a.m. I waited 2 minutes, then grabbed my keys and went out the door. She didn't drive to the gym. She drove 15 minutes north to a gated neighborhood I'd never been to before. She parked along the curb, not at a house. Just waited. At 5:37, a guy pulled up in a silver Range Rover. She got out of her car, walked over, got in his passenger seat, and they drove off together. I can't even describe the way my stomach turned. I followed them as carefully as I could. They didn't go to the gym. They drove to a 24-hour storage facility. He punched in a code at the gate. They disappeared around the corner. They were in there for almost 2 hours. When they came back out, she was fixing her hair in the mirror of his car. Laughing, he leaned over and kissed her neck. Then she got out like nothing had happened, got in her own car, and drove home. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't confront her. Not yet, because I needed to know everything. The guy in the silver Range Rover, his name was Mark Fisher. He was 42, clean-cut, ex-military vibe, square jaw, obnoxious Rolex. I know this because I paid for a 1-week pass at the same fitness club Laura claimed to go to. I walked in the next day, and there he was, leading a small group strength training session. Trainer. Of course. It made sense. The sudden obsession with working out, the high-end club, the new matching workout outfit she bought every other week, the photos on her Instagram that only showed her face and a lot of vague captions about growth and taking back control. She wasn't working out. Not really. She was playing house with her trainer in a storage unit. Let me explain the storage unit thing, because I know it sounds weird. I went back the next morning, parked across the street. This time I saw which unit they entered. I checked the place's online layout and figured out the exact number. Later, I called the facility pretending to be Mark's assistant. Said we needed to update our billing info, but I'd lost the unit number. The girl on the phone was helpful. Gave me the unit size and confirmed the rental name, Mark Fisher. He'd been renting it for 6 months. 6 months. I had to sit down after that. Just sat there in the parking lot of a CVS, my phone in one hand, shaking like a fool. She told me she loved me just the night before. She kissed me goodnight, made a joke about how I snore when I'm stressed. And all the while, she was keeping a toothbrush in a storage unit like it was some kind of secret hideaway. I didn't confront her that week. I watched. I watched every morning she claimed she was hitting the gym hard. And every morning, Same routine. Drive out, park, wait. Mark shows up. She hops in. Storage unit rendezvous. Home before 8:30. Sometimes she showered before coming in. Sometimes she didn't. I memorized the schedule. Monday through Friday. Weekends were for rest and recovery, she'd say, smiling at me over oatmeal. She thought I was so clueless. But the thing about being lied to, once you see it, you can't unsee it. Everything starts looking different. Her texts got shorter. Her smiles didn't reach her eyes. Her laundry smelled like cologne I didn't wear. Her phone never left her side, not even when she went to the bathroom. It felt like our whole marriage had moved out of our house and into that 10 by 10 storage box with rubber mats and a twin-size air mattress. Now here's where it gets messy. Laura and I owned a house together, joint savings. No prenup. That was never a thing we thought we'd need. She'd helped me pay off my student loans, and I helped her cover startup costs for her freelance coaching that apparently involved a whole lot more cardio than I realized. And there was something else. A little over a year ago, we refinanced the mortgage. She insisted we do it under her name because her credit was slightly better. I didn't think twice. Now I know why. She was preparing to jump ship. That Friday, I couldn't take it anymore. I didn't want to yell. I didn't want to scream. I wanted proof. I needed to nail it shut. No loopholes. No denials. No, we were just talking, or he's just helping me with nutrition stuff. So I did the thing I never thought I'd do. I hired a private investigator. He wasn't cheap, but he was good. Really good. I gave him everything I had. Car description. His name. The storage unit address. Times. Dates. 3 days later, he delivered a flash drive. Inside, timestamped photos. Laura kissing Mark in the Range Rover. Her entering the storage unit. Him letting her out while fixing his zipper. Her in a bathrobe. Her laughing while carrying a yoga mat. Mark slapping her rear in the parking lot like they were high school sweethearts. It made me sick. I watched every clip, every second. I wanted to burn the image into my brain so I could never forget. Because I knew the next step wasn't just emotional. It was legal. And if she was going to treat our marriage like a game, I was going to play chess, not checkers. I didn't cry. Not when I saw the footage, not even when I watched her kiss him in broad daylight like she was proud of it. I just sat there at my kitchen table, drinking old coffee and thinking about how many times I'd washed her dishes, folded her laundry, made her laugh when she was down, all while she was lying straight to my face. And somehow, despite it all, she still had the nerve to smile at me every evening, like I was some backup character in her fitness fantasy. I decided right then, no confrontation, no drama, no yelling. I was going to get out, but I was going to do it smart and quiet. The PI gave me more than just the footage. He pulled financial records, rental receipts, emails between her and Mark. They were using an old shared Gmail draft trick, writing messages in drafts, never sending them. Real high school stuff. They were talking about moving in together. She said I was getting suspicious, and she didn't think she could keep this up much longer. They even joked about the storage unit. She called it Unit Bay. I remember sitting back and laughing. A real, hollow laugh. One of those that doesn't feel good, just necessary. Like your body has to do something or it'll explode. She wasn't just cheating. She was planning an exit, and she thought she'd take everything with her. So I planned mine. I found a lawyer, quiet, sharp, and known for handling betrayal cases. She was blunt. She said, "Kyle, if you want to win, you can't act like the hurt husband. You've got to be smarter than her. And cleaner." So I got clean. Stopped reacting. Smiled more. Asked Laura about her workouts. Pretended like life was good. Meanwhile, I was collecting photos, receipts, PI updates. I even bought a tiny recording device and left it on when she'd talk on the phone in the other room. And then one night, this was maybe 3 weeks after I hired the PI, she slipped up. We were watching a movie. She got a text. She laughed at it. I didn't say anything, but she leaned over and kissed my cheek. "I'm glad we're doing better," she said. Better? It felt like mockery. I said, "Me too." That same night, I made the final move. I got a flash drive, labeled it taxes, and left it in the kitchen drawer. I knew she went through my stuff sometimes. I wanted her to find it. On it, a copy of every photo, every video, every draft message. Nothing labeled too clearly, but enough that curiosity would do the job. I went to bed and waited. Sure enough, I heard the drawer open around midnight. Then silence. No movement. Just the sound of our shared past detonating in her hands. She didn't bring it up. Didn't say a word. But the next morning, she acted different. She didn't kiss me goodbye. She didn't say she was going to the gym. She just left. And that's when I knew she'd seen everything. The lawyer filed the papers that afternoon. Infidelity. Misuse of marital assets. Intent to defraud. And because we had no kids and the house was in her name, she assumed I wouldn't fight. She didn't realize that the mortgage payments came out of my account, that I had records showing I'd covered 82% of the house since the refinance, that she'd used shared funds to pay for the storage unit and probably even bought the air mattress with our joint card. She didn't know I had all of it, including Mark's texts telling her to get it over with and make him sign without fuss. She wanted to get rid of me clean and take half the savings. She was about to learn I was a lot harder to scrub out than she thought. She got the papers on a Tuesday. She was wearing those blue leggings she always called her confidence pants. Opened the door like she'd just come back from her workout. Her face dropped when she saw the process server standing on the porch. He handed her the envelope, nodded, and walked off. She stood there frozen. Didn't even look at me. Just said, "You're divorcing me?" I looked up from my coffee. Figured it was time. She walked in like a wind-up toy that had just lost power. Sat across from me at the table. "You blindsided me," she said, almost whispering. I tilted my head. "Like how you blindsided me with Unit Bay." Her mouth opened, closed. That was the first time I saw real panic in her face. I leaned forward. "Yeah, I know everything, Laura." What followed was a tornado of fake tears and twisted logic. She started with denial. It wasn't what it looked like. Then confusion. "Why would you even check up on me?" Then pity. "You've been so distant lately." I felt alone. And then came the gaslight special. "You're the one who's checked out, Kyle. You never supported my dreams." I laughed. "Dreams? That's what we're calling 5:30 a.m. storage hookups now." She stood up fast, knocked over her chair. "I can't believe you're doing this," she shouted. "You're ruining everything." I just looked at her. "No, you already did that. I'm just putting it on paper." From there, things turned cold. We slept in separate rooms. She tried to play civil at first, asking if we could just talk, or if I'd go to therapy with her. But her mask slipped every time she realized I wasn't budging. She started leaving more often. I knew she was running to Mark, probably crying into his Range Rover seats, telling him I was being irrational and vindictive. But Mark wasn't as into it as she hoped. How do I know? Because 2 weeks after she got served, he ghosted her. Stopped showing up to the gym. Storage unit emptied. His name removed from the lease. Gone. She spiraled fast after that. Suddenly, she wanted to work things out. She started cooking again, wearing old pajamas she knew I liked, playing our wedding song on her phone while she folded laundry. It was desperate, sad even, but I wasn't falling for it. Not after what I saw. Not after the months of lies and plans she made behind my back. I told her, calmly, that we were done, that I'd already moved my direct deposits, that I'd spoken to my lawyer about the house, and she'd be hearing from the court about the division of assets. She screamed at me, said I was destroying her life, and then came the words I'll never forget. "I gave you the best years of my life, and now you're trying to take my house." I stood up, quiet, steady. "You mean the house I paid for? The one you tried to keep in your name so you could kick me out when your little plan worked?" Her silence was the confirmation I didn't need, but got anyway. Later that night, she sat on the couch with her arms crossed, like a child who'd just been grounded. And for the first time in months, I felt nothing. Not rage, not heartbreak, just peace. Because I knew exactly what I was doing next. And I knew the court would see it too. I'll say this, Laura was slick. She wasn't the kind to blow everything up in one loud explosion. She was quieter than that. Strategic, which is probably why she thought she could play both sides. Keep me around while building a new life with Mark in the shadows. But the second he left her, everything started to fray. And the unraveling wasn't dramatic. It was subtle, like watching a crack in a windshield widen over time. First, she started slipping up with her finances. She missed a credit card payment, which was odd for her. Then I noticed she canceled our Netflix account, probably thinking it was petty revenge. But I knew better. Mark was gone, and with him, whatever financial support or promise of building something together he had made. She thought she'd hop from one stability raft to the next. Instead, she fell between them. She tried to make me feel guilty about it. "You don't have to fight me so hard in court," she said one night while standing in the kitchen, staring at her phone. "You know I can't afford a lawyer as good as yours." I shrugged. "Maybe you should have stuck to actual workouts." That one hit. She didn't say anything after that. Just walked out the front door and didn't come back till morning. She started lashing out after that, accusing me of being cold. Said I was trying to ruin her. But the court filings were already in motion. My lawyer submitted everything. Every photo, every video, copies of texts, transaction records showing she used our joint account to pay for the storage unit. Even grocery purchases with his favorite protein bars on the receipt, bought in bulk. We included emails where she discussed leaving soon and getting what's mine. I wasn't trying to take revenge. I was protecting myself, because she'd made it clear if she had her way, she'd take the house, half the savings, and spin the narrative that I was the selfish one who gave up on our marriage. But she forgot one thing. Documentation beats manipulation. Then came the deposition. She showed up in a beige pantsuit and fake tears. Claimed she'd made a mistake, but was fully committed to saving the marriage when I filed. She said she'd always believed in forgiveness, and that she had given up the affair the second she realized what she stood to lose. That was a lie. The PI had timestamps proving the affair continued for 3 full weeks after I filed the papers, even after she knew I'd found out. When my lawyer brought this up, she blinked a few times like someone had unplugged her brain. "It was complicated," she said. Complicated. That was her word for betrayal. But here's what broke her. The house. She thought the house was hers, because the mortgage was in her name. What she didn't expect was that we'd tracked every payment from my bank account, that I'd covered the down payment from an inheritance, well documented and filed, that the renovation work was paid for by me, that utilities, taxes, insurance, all in my name, all paid by me. My lawyer had a neat binder titled, "Contributions by Plaintiff." When we showed the judge, even Laura's own attorney looked surprised. She leaned over and whispered something, and Laura's face turned white, then red. She looked at me with this expression I still can't quite describe. Not sadness, not regret, something more like humiliation. And for the first time, I saw her facade crack wide open. She wasn't the confident gym queen anymore. She was just a woman who gambled everything for a fantasy and lost. The courtroom was beige, neutral, like it wanted no part in what was happening inside it. But the air? Tense. It was the kind of quiet where every throat clear echoed like a gunshot. The kind of stillness where even the tapping of a pin made people glance up. Laura sat to my left, 2 tables away, her hair perfectly curled, but her eyes twitching. She kept glancing at her phone, even though it was on silent and already checked through security. Her lawyer, some big-talk guy in a loud blue suit, had been trying to negotiate a settlement. Tried to play it soft. "This doesn't have to get ugly. Surely we can come to terms that respect both parties." But I didn't bend. I told my lawyer I wanted everything brought to light, not for revenge, but because I needed the truth to be seen, in full daylight. No shadows. "No," he said, she said. So we pushed forward with testimony. First up, the PI. He walked in calm as ever, wore a gray jacket, no tie. Looked more like a plumber than someone who dismantles lies for a living. But when he spoke, every word was precise. He outlined everything. The stakeouts, the surveillance, the dates, times, and locations. He narrated the photos and videos, how many times she entered that storage unit, how long she stayed, the name on the lease. Laura didn't look up once. Then came the recordings. Snippets of audio caught in our house. Her phone calls with Mark. Her laughing about how she had Kyle wrapped, and how he probably thinks I'm out doing squats. The courtroom didn't react outwardly. No gasps, no murmurs. But the silence? Heavier now. Even the judge's expression hardened a bit. Then came the email drafts. They'd used the shared Gmail trick like teenagers, writing drafts, saving them, reading them when they logged into the same account. Thought it was clever. But we had screenshots. Dates. Content. One of them read, "I feel like he's catching on. If I can get him to agree to the refi and file first, I'll be in a better spot legally. Another, I don't want to sneak around forever. I want the house, the business, and a clean break. He'll fold. He always does. She looked up at that one, and for a second, she looked straight at me, and I swear she wanted to cry. But she didn't, because I didn't fold. Not this time. Then I took the stand. My hands were cold when I sat down, my throat dry. But once I started talking, the words came out steady. I told them everything. The gym lie, the late mornings, the way she slowly disconnected from our marriage without ever saying the words, how she used our shared money to fund her affair. I didn't cry. I didn't raise my voice. I just told the truth. Laura's lawyer tried to poke holes, suggested I'd been distant, that maybe I hadn't met her needs, asked if I ever denied her affection, if I had prior incidents of infidelity or control. It was insulting, but also weak, because we had records, emails of support, photos of us happy just months before. No mistresses, no secrets on my end, just a guy who thought his wife was chasing fitness while she was chasing someone else's bed. My lawyer finished by laying out the financials, the house, the savings, her attempt to hide digital income from freelance coaching while still pulling money from our joint account. It was clear, this wasn't a woman who made a mistake. This was a woman who made a plan. And the plan failed. Mark disappeared. I didn't. She was still banking on charm. I brought receipts. After the testimony, court adjourned for the day. People started to shuffle out in silence, that heavy courtroom quiet still sticking to everyone's shoes. I walked past her. She didn't say a word, didn't look at me, but I could feel the heat of her stare hit the back of my neck. The kind that says, this wasn't supposed to happen. You weren't supposed to fight me. Later that night, I got an email from her. No subject line, just a few lines. You really want to destroy me like this? After everything we were? I loved you. You were my person. I just wanted to feel alive again. I made a mistake, but you've made this cruel. I stared at the screen for a long time. I wasn't even angry. I was disappointed. How she was still trying to twist it around like she was the victim. No apology. No ownership. Just guilt-wrapped manipulation. I didn't reply. There was nothing left to say. The next few weeks were paperwork and tension. Every morning, I'd hear her in the guest room she'd moved into, crying on the phone. I could guess who she was calling, but it didn't matter anymore. It wasn't Mark. He was gone. Vanished. We later found out he'd been sued before, by another woman, also a client. Similar story. Different city. Laura picked a real gem. She tried to contact him through social media, but he'd wiped everything clean. Deleted accounts, changed numbers. Poof, disappeared. That part. That was her breaking point. I knew it when I came home one afternoon and found her sitting in the living room, surrounded by boxes. Her voice was flat. I'm moving in with my sister. I nodded. All right. She looked up like she was waiting for me to say something. Maybe ask her to stay. Maybe forgive her. I didn't. She left 2 days later. Funny thing is, she took very little with her. Mostly clothes. Some keepsakes. A few books. Left behind most of the furniture, kitchen stuff. Even the painting her aunt gave us at our wedding. Like she didn't want reminders of what she destroyed. Fine by me. I kept the things that mattered. Dignity, peace, and my name off any storage unit lease. A week before the final hearing, her lawyer reached out again. Tried one last Hail Mary. Your client should consider mediation. If we settle quietly, there's still a chance for a fair distribution. My lawyer didn't even blink. She sent back a short reply. There was no fairness in betrayal. See you in court. The courtroom felt different the second time around. More final. Like everyone knew the last move was coming. And all that was left was to see how the pieces landed. Laura came in wearing all black this time. Maybe to look serious. Maybe it was mourning. For the life she thought she'd manipulate her way into keeping. She didn't look at me when she sat down. Her lawyer kept whispering to her, handing her papers she barely read. I recognized that look. She wasn't listening anymore. She was just hoping. Hoping maybe the judge would see her side. That somehow, a few tears and a story about trying to fix things would wipe away months of lies, screenshots, and betrayal. The judge entered. Older guy, stern face. No nonsense. He looked over both sides. read through everything. Didn't speak for a long time. Just flipped through the binder we submitted. Tabs sticking out everywhere. Affair evidence, financial records, PI documentation, property contributions. Then he looked at her. "Mrs. Greer," he said slowly, "you've admitted to having a sustained extramarital relationship with another individual while using shared marital funds and attempting to conceal income from the plaintiff. Is that correct?" She shifted in her seat. I made mistakes, yes." He nodded, didn't flinch. "And you also stated in your email correspondence that you were preparing to separate while attempting to secure full control over the jointly shared residence, correct?" She swallowed. I was confused. It's a yes or no, ma'am." She blinked. Yes. That was the moment. Her lawyer leaned back in his chair. Even he knew it was over. Then it was my lawyer's turn to speak. She was short, surgical, quiet voice, but when she spoke, everyone leaned in. "We are not seeking revenge," she said. "We are seeking what's fair based on contributions, documented behavior, and the law. My client was misled, betrayed, and nearly defrauded. This case is about clarity, not punishment." The judge nodded again, then closed the folder. "I've heard enough." The ruling came 15 minutes later. I kept the house. I kept 85% of our shared savings. She was ordered to reimburse part of the PI's cost. No spousal support granted, because she was found to be financially deceitful. Her fitness coaching business, the one she registered using our joint address and startup cash, I got a cut of future profits. Legally binding. She tried to protest that part. Stood up, voice shaking. "But that's my work, my brand." The judge didn't even look up. "You build it on stolen time, Mrs. Greer. You're lucky it's not worse." She left the courthouse alone. No tears this time. No drama. Just silence. She didn't even say goodbye. And I didn't watch her walk away. The weirdest part about winning? It didn't feel like winning. Not right away, anyway. I walked out of that courthouse with a legal victory in my pocket, but my marriage still felt like something that had been yanked out of a fire, charred, warped, unsalvageable. People talk about closure like it's a clean line, a final scene in a movie where everything makes sense. But it wasn't like that. It was more like waking up after a long illness. You're glad it's over, but you're weak and tired, and you don't recognize the shape of your own life anymore. The first week after the ruling, I stayed quiet. Didn't call anyone. Didn't post anything. I just lived in the house, my house now, with the silence she used to fill. Her scent still faint on the pillow she left behind. Her old coffee mug still in the cabinet. A pair of her socks under the couch that I hadn't noticed before. I threw them out, piece by piece. I removed her. And it wasn't bitter. It was peaceful. Like sweeping dust off a porch after a long winter. About a week later, she texted. Short. No apology. Just this. "I'm moving to Denver. Staying with a friend. I won't bother you again. Tell your lawyer I'm signing the business transfer. You won. Happy now?" I didn't answer. There was nothing left to say. Let her start over. Let her figure out who she is without someone to lie to. I wasn't going to carry her anymore. People started finding out slowly. Friends. Neighbors. My coworker, Eric, who'd always joked that Laura was out of your league, looked stunned when I told him. I showed him one photo from the PI's file. His jaw dropped. "That's her trainer?" he whispered. "Yup." "In a storage unit?" "Yup." He didn't know what to say after that. No one really did. Most people just shook their heads, said things like, "Man, I'm sorry," or "You deserve better." The truth is, I did, but I didn't need them to say it. I knew it. I picked up running again. Real running. Not on some treadmill at a luxury club with smoothies and overpriced towels. Just outside, feet on pavement, cold morning air cutting through my lungs. It felt real, honest, like I was finally back in my own body again. Sometimes, I'd still catch myself staring at her side of the bed. Not because I missed her, but because I couldn't believe how blind I'd been, how easily I trusted, how quietly she lied. It wasn't just the cheating. It was the way she made me feel stupid for believing her. That's what stuck, but not forever. Because one morning, I woke up and didn't think of her at all. Didn't check for a text. Didn't glance at the guest room door. Didn't replay the videos or reread her messages. I just got up, made coffee, stretched, and went for a run. And for the first time in months, It didn't feel like recovery. It felt like freedom. It's been 6 months since the court ruling. The paperwork's finalized. The house is mine. The money's squared away. Her name is off everything. No more surprises in the mailbox. No more awkward phone calls. No more quiet mornings wondering what version of Laura I'm going to get today. She's gone, and I'm still here. People ask if I'm dating again. Not really. I've gone out a few times. Grabbed a drink, had a laugh. But there's no rush. I don't feel like I need someone to complete anything. What I needed was to rebuild what was already mine, my peace, my self-respect, my trust in my own instincts. That's a process. It's not flashy. It's slow, but it's solid. Like laying bricks after a storm. Every now and then, I'll get a message from someone who knew us both. An old friend, one of her cousins, a coworker of hers who'd always had a weird look in their eye. They all say the same thing, in different ways. Man, I'm sorry. I had no idea. She really fooled everyone. You're better off. Seriously. I appreciate it. I do. But I don't need the reminders. I've lived the story. Every line. I've seen what love looks like when it rots underneath a smile. One thing that stuck with me was what the judge said before ending the session. It was simple. He looked at her, then at me, and said, "This marriage died long before the plaintiff filed. The only difference is, one of you just finally admitted it." It hit me like a punch. Not because it hurt, but because it was true. I kept thinking love was supposed to hurt sometimes. That a few lies could be forgiven. That being tired all the time, second-guessing myself, and feeling like I was always just one wrong word away from silence, was just what people meant when they said marriage takes work. No, that wasn't marriage. That was survival, and I don't do survival anymore. Now, I live. I get up when the sun rises. I work out, not to prove anything, not to chase an illusion, but because I like the way my lungs feel full and my legs ache after a good run. I talk to friends more. I picked up woodworking, built a table that actually wobbles a little, but I keep it as is. It's real. I laugh again. Loud, careless laughs. The kind I used to have before everything got complicated. And every time I step outside and breathe in the morning air, I remind myself of this. I didn't lose. I walked away, with everything that mattered still intact.